Sophie ran a man over with her car and dumped his body in a lake. Margo had a secret abortion, murdered the girl who found out, and framed an innocent woman for it. Both of them are, by any normal definition, guilty as sin. Evaluating iconic fictional lawyers against this narrative requires asking one central question. Could a specific attorney, with their distinct skill set and ethical boundaries, keep these two out of prison? The goal is not to judge who is the most virtuous or likable, but to determine who can successfully bring Margo and Sophie home. To evaluate these legal minds systematically, a clear framework is necessary. S-tier belongs to attorneys who resolve the crisis before it ever reaches a courtroom, resulting in dropped charges without a public trial. A-tier lawyers take the case the distance and win, though collateral damage is inevitable. B-tier representation beats the primary charge but allows a lesser offense, plea bargain, or buried loose end to slip through. C-tier represents a dangerous gamble where the lawyer's methods are just as likely to expose a second crime as they are to clear the first. Finally, D-tier consists of attorneys whose personal consciences make them an active liability to a guilty client. Matt Murdock. Representing Sophie, Matt Murdock presents what looks like a stacked resume on paper. A dedicated defense attorney paired with a vigilante capable of handling off-the-books threats. While his legal partner Foggy handles the procedural work to clear Sophie of the initial handgun setup, Murdock uses his heightened senses to detect lies during depositions and address outside extortionists directly. However, his unyielding moral code presents an insurmountable conflict. Sophie did not act in simple self-defense. She struck Kyle with her car, fled the scene, and concealed his body. The moment Murdock realizes her story is untruthful, he faces a crisis of conscience. While he will not actively sabotage his client, he will refuse to participate in a cover-up, pushing her to confess to the vehicular homicide in exchange for fighting the murder frame-up. If she refuses, he walks, making a lawyer with a rigid moral line a severe risk for a client hiding a body. Phoenix Wright. Phoenix Wright's legal career is defined by uncovering the single contradiction that forces the real culprit to break down on the witness stand. Applied to Sophie's murder charge, his skills are uniquely targeted. He can dismantle flawed camera evidence, pick apart Margo's false abortion alibi, and expose the true perpetrator in open court. The flaw in his approach lies in his commitment to absolute forensic truth. Wright does not bury evidence, he unearths it. While this approach effectively clears Sophie of Abby's murder, it creates extreme risk for a client sitting on a secondary crime. Because his methodology relies on pulling every loose thread until the truth emerges, his cross-examination risks accidentally dragging Kyle's disappearance into the open. He delivers a brilliant defense on the first charge, but his relentless pursuit of facts creates self-inflicted damage on the second. Kim Wexler. Kim Wexler represents the peak of technical legal execution. Representing Sophie, she would target the chain of custody for the murder weapon, file relentless suppression motions against sloppy small-town police work, and construct a defense framework around Sophie's past history to contextualize the situation. She can defeat the primary murder charge purely through procedural mastery without needing courtroom theatrics. However, Wexler has a firm boundary when clients lie directly to her while actively committing new crimes. The moment a second hidden homicide surfaces, she presents an ultimatum, full disclosure and a controlled plea, or her immediate resignation. She clears the main charge through precision, but her professional standards prevent her from shielding a client who continues to fabricate the truth. Vinnie Gambini. Vinnie Gambini offers an entirely different strength by making complex or flawed forensics look completely unreliable to a local jury. Defending Sophie, he can dismantle nighttime trail camera footage, question tire tread analysis, and undermine timelines established by local deputies through straightforward, relatable cross-examination. His limitation is scope. While he excels at exposing physical evidence gaps inside a courtroom, he is ill-equipped to navigate a multi-layered regional conspiracy involving political campaigns, bribery, and institutional cover-ups. Gambini secures an acquittal on the immediate murder charge based on reasonable doubt, but he operates completely unaware of the broader machinery surrounding the case. Annalise Keating. Annalise Keating's expertise lies in representing clients who are factually guilty. Taking on Sophie's defense, she would move to suppress key evidence as an invasion of privacy, frame her client as the victim of a broader manipulation scheme, and aggressively target Margo's credibility to protect her client. Rather than viewing a secondary crime as a reason to withdraw, Keating treats it as another variable to manage. She leverages Margo's false alibis and institutional cover-ups to force favorable terms or compel the opposing side to back down. If the secondary incident comes to light, she immediately reframes it as self-defense against an aggressor. She secures a total defense victory, though it typically leaves complete destruction in its wake. And Mickey Haller. Mickey Haller operates effectively within complex, multi-layered cases by drawing on a deep network of investigators and informal contacts. Defending Margo, he thrives in environments involving political campaigns, blackmail schemes, and competing motives. Upon discovering the full reality of Margo's actions and frame job, Haller focuses on comprehensive damage control. He uses his investigative apparatus to maintain necessary political cover, quietly address loose ends before prosecutors identify them, and present alternative suspects, including Sophie herself, to create reasonable doubt. Haller wins by adapting quickly and operating comfortably within legal gray areas. S-tier, Saul Goodman. Saul Goodman is built for environments defined by small-town corruption, backroom arrangements, and disappearing evidence. Representing Margo, he does not attempt to prove moral innocence in court. Instead, he renders the prosecution's case completely unworkable. He fabricates alternative leads for law enforcement to pursue, exploits pre-existing local rivalries, and neutralizes external threats using strategic financial settlements rather than direct confrontation. Under his strategy, Margo never sets foot inside a courtroom. The primary trade-off is that every party involved becomes a long-term liability holding sensitive information, but the immediate legal threat is completely neutralized. Harvey Specter. Harvey Specter operates on the principle that taking a case to trial represents a failure to secure proper leverage. Defending Margo, he bypasses standard trial preparations entirely and constructs an indisputable file of leverage against every institution involved, from political figures to local law enforcement agencies. Rather than hiding the underlying facts, he renders them legally irrelevant. By presenting prosecutors with the systemic fallout and procedural exposure that would result from bringing the case to court, he forces a complete dismissal of all charges before an indictment can take hold. Margo maintains her public standing and avoids pre-trial detention entirely, achieving the cleanest possible resolution by making the prosecution structurally impossible. Ultimately, the attorneys who secure the most absolute victories are not necessarily those who argue best before a judge, but those who ensure the case never reaches a jury at all. Figures like Goodman and Specter succeed because they manipulate the structural environment until the charges collapse under their own weight. Precision trial attorneys can dismantle a flawed charge, but when a client is undeniably guilty of multiple offenses, safety relies on hiring counsel willing to make the truth structurally irrelevant.